Today on the Lobster Talks, I'm speaking with Kevin Wu, the founder of Leaping AI, the voice AI that's quietly replacing entire customers' service teams. So we're talking real numbers, 100 agent call centers automated and 90% customer satisfaction scores. That's some AI agents that can close sales faster than humans. So if you're CX, ops, or building with AI, this episode will really be interesting for you and change how you think about support forever. So let's get in. Kevin, thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Yeah, happy to be here.
Awesome. Let's dive in. So you're the founder of Leaping AI. Tell me what Leaping AI does, how you got started. Tell me more about you.
Yeah, so Leaping AI does self-improving voice AI agents for businesses. We currently crossed 100,000 calls per day in our platform and automate up to 50 to 70% of repetitive customer support phone calls for our business customers.
Wow, that's very, very impressive. How did you get started? What's the sort of the story behind it? What was your first inspiration?
Yeah, so just for context, I grew up in Europe, in Germany, studied computer science, afterwards worked in consulting at the Boston Consulting Group. Whilst I was there, I was part of the Gen AI task force once ChatGPT came out. And one of the things I realized whilst working that task force is that whilst different industries have different levels of how they're, like different ways of how they're impacted by Gen AI, the contact center is a constant across different industries in terms of a lot of potential for Gen AI to make a big impact and automate a lot of that work. At the same time, I was towards the latter half of my BCG career already in ideation mode, and I got connected to now one of our largest customers who had this concrete pain point of having high call center costs and wanting to introduce more automation. And so I had the top-down view, and I had kind of a concrete business opportunity, which allowed me to kind of pursue that right after I quit BCG.
That's very cool. It always starts with the first customer. And so how were you able, I'm sure this pain point that this customer had, he could have gone to any other players trying to fix this as well. There's a lot of people trying to go, replacing customer support with AI. You're the one who ends up winning that customer, even though it's probably your first customer and your first thing. What was your insight? What makes you better right from the beginning than all of those other companies trying to do the same thing, but not being able to sell to that customer?
I would say it evolved over time. So for that customer, what allowed us initially to win is that a lot of the current solutions were based on what we call an intent response architecture, where you kind of require the human customer to say a certain keyword, right, for the bot to understand what he's trying to do. For example, trying to make the customer say receipt, right, if it's like a billing related issue. And so what we initially pitched was just an LLM version of this, where the AI bot is able to talk naturally. And this was already a differentiator back then. What is a differentiator now is that we combine the voice AI agent with an eval module and a self-optimization module all in one platform. The unique insight that we have is that currently it takes humans a lot of time to actually evaluate the calls, the hundreds of calls or the thousands of calls that the AI is doing every day. And so our unique insight is that AI can actually do the same job of looking at all the calls, analyzing them. And the next step, it's TBD, is AI can actually, based on those evaluations, give suggestions to the original AI of how to improve itself, how to optimize its prompts, etc.
So you're going to be sort of a self-improving model, a self-improving agent that's you just plug it once and then that's it. It does its own thing. It constantly evolves and gets better. Is that a major selling point for your customers today?
Yes, but what I would like to add is that the human stays in the loop in some ways. So we're not going to autonomously change the voice AI agent behavior on a daily basis, right? Because a lot of our customers rely on the agent performing as they expect. So we will give suggestions, right? That then the human supervisor can then either approve or decline. So if you take a parallel to, let's say, the human world, think of a call center human agent, right? He comes into the call center with some base education, namely his schooling and stuff like that. But then you give him a script, right? And the script can be seen as like the prompt, right? the call center agent does something, you evaluate his performance, and you give constant improvements, right? And we want to give our customers as many tools as possible, right, for them to be able to improve the voice AI agent, but they will always be in the loop in terms of what improvements have been made.
All right, very, very strong. And so, of course, everyone listening right now is wondering what happens with edge cases, because there's always edge
Yeah.
cases. You have, I think, 90% satisfaction, which is amazingly high, but then it means there's 10% where it doesn't work. And you just talked about human in the loop. So
Mhm.
is it just transferred to a human? Are you trying to be better? Because that's what sort of everyone does. Are you trying to go one step further? What could be done for those edge cases?
Yeah, to be honest, like if we detect an edge case, we would rather escalate the call. Why? Because let's say you could ask the AI to get really creative, right? So let's say it's being asked something that it has not been prompted to answer, and you might want to tell the AI, hey, if that is the case, like just answer something, right, and make the customer happy. But the flip side of that is it could make things up and say something that you actually don't want it to say. So for a lot of our business customers, this is like a no-go. So we would rather just escalate the call. And these are unfortunately just the limitations of AI in the moment. The good thing is you will learn about these edge cases over time, and so you can actually improve the AI agent over time by just giving it more instructions, more knowledge over time.
That's really cool. And so when did you guys start? Because you're doing now hundreds of thousands of calls. When was the beginning? You started very recently.
We started, actually, that's not true. We started in August 2023 in
Okay.
Germany, in Europe.
Okay. And then so take I mean, I still consider this pretty recent, but um walk us through your first call. Was it with that customer? What happened? Were you nervous? What was the call? How did it go? Did it go as planned, or did you have, major difficulties and issues at the beginning? Walk us back.
So you mean the sales process?
No, I meant the first sort of AI live
Oh, okay.
agent call. Yeah.
So I would say the first AI agent call was actually already pretty good, because actually with that customer, it was already kind of a big customer, right? We weren't starting with like a small customer; we started with a big
Yeah.
customer, and as part of that, we already had quite an intense process of developing and also testing the bot internally before it even went live. So the first call, luckily, behaved kind of as we expected it to behave.
That's
However,
good.
um, the biggest fallacy in voice AI is that you do something with like a business customer, and then you like test internally, and then you go live, and then the work is done. Actually, your work is never done. Why? Because just testing internally with like 20 people, right, will never capture the full spectrum of end customers, hundreds of thousands of people, like old people, young people, right, people of different ethnicities, people that want different things, people that talk in different accents, that you will experience as an AI bot once you go live. So actually, it's kind of like depressing, but it's reality. It's a constant process even after going live of actually, and that's the truth, like listening to all the calls, right, essentially, and constantly making improvements every day for the rest of time with every customer after you go live. And this is because Gen AI has the nature of being like probabilistic, right? So that's why you do need to like improve it every day for the rest of time for every customer. And so this is where we are building tooling to make that process as seamless as possible.
That's very, very fascinating. I want to sort of go back because I'm still thinking of this. You're again, what made me really attracted to you to have you on the pod. What's really unique is there's tons of voice AI companies, tons of support voice AI companies, including in YC. There's probably a dozen, and yet you're the one who's standing out in terms of revenue traction, and so that means you're really making something people want. You're really solving. You have a real solution that customers actually are buying. So I want to sort of try to dig on this a little more. What do you think makes you different, or maybe what would you say to your competitors if they want to catch up? Maybe you don't want to reveal, but so what makes you better? What makes you sign so much more contracts than all of those other companies?
First of all, I would disagree with the premise of the space. It is sorry, with your statement. I think it's a growing market where a lot of companies are doing well, and we
Yeah.
respect all the companies that are trying to make it. and we're also good friends with some of the other peers in the space. The harsh
That's the
reality,
YC spirit. That's really
yeah,
cool. Thank you for correcting me on that.
it's not a zero sum game. The harsh reality is, though, is that most of the other solutions are not working that well, and churn, right, that the other providers are experiencing is extremely massive, right? I'm not sure if it's at the same scale of like AI SDR companies, but I would say most of the major players in the space, right, especially the ones that came up, are facing really, really high churn. And I think that is because of two reasons. First of all, I think it's down to how you frame it. If you frame your solution as we're going to replace all humans, the customer and you will be in for a big disappointment, because again, it's this constant improvement cycle and things are not going to be perfect always, right? So you always, or in majority of the cases, or in some cases, need like a human fallback. So what I pitch our solution as, it reduces time spent of your current staff on non-revenue generating activities. They should still be there, right, in case AI fails, but they can focus more time on revenue generating activities, right? And AI can take over repetitive stuff, 50 to 70% of the calls, right, that are pretty easy to handle. And so this changes the expectation setting of our clients, where they don't really expect certain percentages of humans to not be there anymore, but they see it more as a tool for those humans to generate more activity. So I think expectation setting is really important, that, hey, AI is not perfect, but we're fully confident that for 50 to 70% of all the calls, AI is able to automate it, right? So I think the second part is that the space is surprisingly still in its infancy, right? So um, there's still like outages that other players are facing, like hallucinations, right, are a common problem. So whilst traction is really fast, and I do see parallels to like the AI SDR space, having really, really, really good solutions that work for enterprise use cases with LLMs is very rare, that we haven't really seen yet, right? And where some of these customers are coming to us and are like, hey, we tried this other provider, it's not really working, like, show us what you got, right? And then we show them what we have. So there has been a lot of hype, like an AI SDR, but it's like I don't know if it's like an open or a closed secret, right? That I think like a lot of the early traction might not be that sustainable. And so there is still potential to build just a technically superior product and capture
Yeah.
like the long-term winning position in the space.
That's interesting. It is something people talk about a lot. It's like, oh, AI companies in general have a lot of traction early on, and then what about retention? And so you pointed it out very that very precisely. Also, I wanted to mention that what you said is interesting as well. You don't need to replace 100%. Already, if you replace even 50%, or obviously you can replace probably 75, 80, 90%, but even half, it's going to be much cheaper for high volumes than having actual humans doing the support. And everyone knows that many percentage, a high percentage of that support is very low level issue that can be solved by an AI. So even you taking 50% off their plate makes a lot of sense. Did you, or do you, in your sales strategy, calculate sort of the ROI for the customer? Like, hey, if you're able to get rid of X employees and plug our solution, that's a whatever, how which percentage cheaper is it?
I mean, definitely, right? So in general, I think the solution makes so I will first go off on a tangent, but then I will answer your question. So in general, I think the voice AI solutions make sense for larger companies. Why? Because at the end of the day, there's always some kind of cost efficiency component to every voice AI project. And only in large companies are you probably able to have the business case make sense. Why? Because let's say you have a small company with like 5 call center agents, right? And you choose voice AI and you're trying to maybe get rid of 3 people. That will probably not work from our experience, because again, voice AI is not 100% reliable always. So you need maybe 2 or 3 people always on staff, right? And once that is the case, you can probably not let go of someone, because some people might be working the night shift, some people might be working the morning shift. Imagine you have like one single receptionist, right? And you're using voice AI, you probably cannot let the receptionist go because she's like doing other things. Plus, she always needs to be on call, like if the voice AI agent fails. So in a sense, like in essence, you're like having two solutions, right? You're having the humans and you're having the voice AI agents. But if you have like a call center with like hundreds of people, right? Then you probably don't need hundreds of people after having a voice AI solution, but you can let some percentage of them go. So that is like just on a tangent. So regarding your specific question, so this is very important. Agreeing on the metric that you're trying to solve for the customer, and also staying very vigilant if you're solving that metric. The frustrating thing, but also interesting thing for me as like a former consultant, is that honestly every customer might have slightly different metrics. So one customer might want to have 24-hour support, the other customer might be optimizing for cost. We're doing some sales enablement use cases where actually or appointment use cases where the metric might be number of leads qualified or numbers of opportunities created. I think the important thing is to set a realistic expectation of what this metric is, and then actually staying close to that metric. So kind of like actually with all customers that we have right now, we have weekly check-ins where I personally show up like for 30 minutes and ask them like two things. Are you hitting your metric? If not, why not, right? And second, are there just any technical bugs, right, that we can fix? The funny thing is sometimes customers don't want to tell you their metric, but at least you can ask them the black or white question, like, are we hitting your metric, yes or no? Don't tell me what it is, like just tell me yes or no, right? And if it's no, like, okay, why? And then let's try to optimize it. Because otherwise, if you don't stay close to the customer, they might not hit their metric, but they might just like silently churn. And so this is something I want to avoid, because it is actually way easier to expand a customer and make them happy than just try to find a new customer from somewhere.
Always be talking to your customers. That's the YC thing as well. Can you briefly talk about your tech stack? What you can share, at least. I'm sure a lot of people are wondering. There's the voice, there's the intelligence, there's the connector to the client, maybe some other stuff that I'm forgetting. So what's the stack here?
Yeah. So we are an orchestration layer where we kind of bundle different tools together and bring that to enterprises. And so this is also like a position I would like to be in, because an enterprise is probably, for at least like a call center AI solution, is probably not going to talk to OpenAI directly and be like, hey, how can I use ChatGPT to have like an omni-channel like call center solution, right? They're probably going to talk to someone like us, right? And we are bringing the underlying LLM, we're bringing the underlying telephony solution. So for telephony, we use Twilio. We evaluated some other solutions as well, but Twilio is the current option, right? Not saying that it might not change in the future, but we're currently using Twilio. For the LLMs, we have like a range of different providers, amongst others, ChatGPT, like GPT. The voice stack is completely our own, like how to make the calls happen. Interrupt logic is all our own. For text to speech, we actually use, at this point, I think like 4 different providers. Some of them are like Cartesia, 11 Labs, OpenAI, Azure. So we use them pretty interchangeably. I would say the weighting of them is probably like 25% each across all of our customers together. For speech to text, we also have like a bunch of other providers. So we see ourselves as kind of the guys bringing the solution to the enterprises whilst leveraging some of the underlying core technology that take probably like years of research to develop. Yeah.
Before we continue, this show is brought to you by Lobster Capital. If you're still not subscribed, please consider subscribing, whether on YouTube or on your favorite podcast app. Give us a 5-star review, turn on the notification bell. Thank you very much. So, Kevin, why do you choose 4 different, for example, text to speech and not just go with the best? I'm guessing it has to do with some use cases specific to some customers. Why not figure out which one is just the best overall and always use this one?
Yeah, that's a that's an interesting question. So first of all, I would say that there is no best provider. I would say different providers are better for different things. And it's also funny where different customers, like different businesses, they are attached to a specific like AI bot voice that might come from a certain provider. So let's say one customer, for some reason, really likes the voice provided by OpenAI itself. Like OpenAI itself has voices, and he doesn't like any of the voices provided by 11 Labs or Cartesia or like Azure. And another customer, for some reason, really likes this specific, like Austrian sounding German voice of like 11 Labs, and so they just want that, right? And this like voice is something no other provider offers. So what we found is just that let's offer all the voices. You can just select your voice, whatever you like. We offer like probably 100 different voices from 4 providers. Just pick whatever you like, and we'll just go with it. Yeah.
So it's a matter of taste for the customer. Okay,
Yeah.
that's good as
I would say
well.
in terms of like the tooling, the quality, the latency, like all of them are pretty interchangeable. There are no significant differences. Yeah, it's
If there's no
most
difference, you
yeah,
might as well give the customer what they prefer.
yeah.
That's another great lesson for entrepreneurs listening to us. Just don't necessarily box yourself. You can actually offer a wider solution, and the customer is going to end up becoming happier. Are there industries or types of companies where this doesn't work at all yet?
So I think what we painfully learned is that sales does not really work. So like how I segment voice AI is in terms of probably 4 different types of calls you can do. There's customer support inbound, and then there's outbound, probably where you reach out to like existing customers to try to get them to do something, like payment collection, where you reach out to new customers and just try to like maybe qualify them or get some info, and then where you reach out to new customers and try to sell them over the phone. We actually had a pilot with one of the largest telcos in Southeast Asia, which tried to use us to upsell telco plans to like their millions of subscribers and really have like the sale be completed over the phone. And so this is something where I have not seen anybody crack it yet, because the barrier is just so high. I mean, even with humans, it's really high, but you have to be really convincing, which the AI, I'm not sure is. Like, and that convincing has to be both from a voice perspective, but also from like an intelligence logic perspective, right? The LLM has to somehow really be able to sell. And so this is something I have not seen work yet. And so there have been in the history of voice AI and still are customers that pitch themselves as, you know, we're able to close a deal over the phone. I have not seen a single successful deployment yet at scale where this works.
Do you think it's coming in the future? Because AI models are improving so rapidly. Do you think 2, 3, 4 years models are going to be so different from today? Actually, a full sales cycle at scale is coming for us?
I don't know. I, I really am not able to tell. Ideally, I want my solution to be there when that happens and able to support that. And it's for me just, you know, to flip the switch. Honestly, I don't see it in the next 12 months at least. But it might change, and hopefully I'm there for it.
Very cool. Yeah. If it happens, you should be one of the first ones to do it. What does what does it look like after I implement your solution? You know, everyone can pretty much imagine a company that has maybe 100 support agents. That's the case for many people. And then you come in, and so you're able to let some go, like you said. Do you have a sense of how many that is? But then how does life work look like once you're in production with you? What's different for them? What do they do? Are they just on call? Do they do something else?
So ideally, they can focus on other things. So for example, we've had one customer that is doing hundreds of thousands of calls per year, and they get a lot of like they have a lot of older customers who rely on the phone line for support purposes, and so you had to have people on call like answering the phone. The thing is like the phone calls are not coming in constantly, right? Where you can do some uninterrupted work, then you can like go back. No, it's like coming in sporadically, and so this really hampers productivity of some of these employees. So by automating 50 to 70% of that work, we found that these customers can now actually be answering like or be replying to more customer emails, right, that are coming in, and only like very sporadically like answer phone calls. And so this we've seen that those customers are seeing their employees freed up to do like other tasks, right, and not having to like call the phone, make phone calls. Some of these clients actually like retrain their staff to actually work with our tool. Like we call them voice AI managers, where now they tell the AI what to do and they monitor the AI instead of like doing the work themselves. And empirically speaking, they enjoy that work a lot more, telling AI what to do and like telling it how to improve than doing the work themselves.
Yeah, you become the boss. It's fun.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Do customers realize they're talking to an AI? Because at the beginning you would realize it and the frontier is becoming more and more blurry. So do you know if they still realize they're talking to an AI?
Sometimes yes, and sometimes no. Especially with older customers, they don't. And if the call is shorter, in the longer term, it is kind of depressing. But I think they do realize, and that is for two reasons. So, reason number one is that I think in terms of tonality, humans have just a broader range and also use filler words. They don't talk in a perfect way, and that is perceptible, I would say, still with AI, just the way it talks. I would say the second thing is it's just the interrupt dynamics. So interruption is in a way a fixed and in some way an unfixed issue. So you can already interrupt an AI bot, but I would hypothesize that like a conversation like you and I would have it where maybe we interrupt each other constantly is still not possible with an AI bot in a way where it feels like completely natural. Yeah.
I was going to say there's some fixes for that where you artificially add filler words. Is that
Yeah.
not some? By the way, like I listen to myself on the pod and I have so many filler words. So I apologize for the audience. Thankfully, it's everyone. It's also the guests. So yes, it sounds natural because we say, we says like, blah, blah, blah. Are you for or against artificially adding them?
Oh, I'm all for it, right? And most of the times, like my customers want this to be in there. And the interesting thing is, you can actually achieve this in many ways. So you could train the voice to have that, but you could also have it at the prompt level, where you actually, have in the prompt, hey, every second sentence build in like a filler word, and you give it like a list of like things you could say, like aha, okay, got it, how interesting, right? And then we'll actually put that in there.
Oh, that's cool. But so I'm understanding from what you're saying that it's not live with any of your customers yet. They're not there yet.
No, we do that with most customers.
Oh, you do. Okay, very cool. So going back to some realize, some don't realize. The ones who don't realize, well, they just don't. The ones who do, what has been most surprising to you about their reaction? Is it that they don't care as long as it gets done, or is it that they're annoyed? What has been the most surprising to you there?
They're both. So I would say there are some customers that realize it, and then they actually start speaking slower, but they stay on the call because actually they think that, hey, cool, like AI can help get the job done. And then there's some that are saying, I want to speak to a human, and so we just escalate the call straight away. And so going back to expectation setting, this is something that most enterprise customers are fine with. They realize that this will happen, and all they want is like a good handover to happen. But this is something that most customers are fine with. In terms of like my personal preference, like for example, if I'm stranded in an airport, I want to rebook my flights. I couldn't care less. Like if it's an AI helping me or a human helping me, I don't want to wait 30 minutes in the line. I want my problem to be solved straight away. And if an AI is somehow integrated enough and good enough to help me solve my problems, I, to be honest, wouldn't care less if it's an AI helping me or a human helping me.
Yeah, and that's what everyone says. If it's faster, you don't end up waiting to talk to a human. Then, and if it actually solves your problem, then
Yeah.
it's great. Okay, brilliant. I want to move on to our sort of last part here of the show, where I ask you about the future and I ask you to make some bets and some predictions. So, it could be short or not short answers, but let's say the year is 2030, so we're 5 years in the future from today. Are humans talking at all to other humans on support calls, or is it finished forever?
um, I would say there's always some human fallback. Like, why? I think I would compare it to the chatbot world, where I would say chatbots have been quite sophisticated for a long period of time. Uh, but you still have cases where your issue is not resolved, and so either a human comes into the chatbot, or you actually like tell the chatbot to file an email request, and the human looks at the email request. And the reason is probably twofold. Number one, just intelligence. Uh, well, okay. Assuming AGI is not there, I assume AI will not be intelligent enough. And I think that the second thing is like integration with the data systems.
Yeah.
A human can always go into the database itself via like an SQL query and get whatever data that they want. That is more difficult for an AI in most of the cases because it's probably not 100% integrated into 100% of all workflows and like real-time systems in a way where the human can just look it up.
I would agree. I actually think the second part of your answer, the integration, is going to be more the roadblock than intelligence. I think five
I
years from
mean,
now. Yeah.
yeah, go ahead, please. No,
No,
please.
sorry. That I was agreeing with you. Go ahead.
So I mean, you could fix this integration piece, right, by making the AI integrate like with all possible systems.
Yeah.
But this will create
Ideally.
huge upfront effort, right? That that's just not feasible for most companies.
I was
Most
going to
companies
say.
want
Yeah.
to have like quick wins, like we in consulting we call it quick wins, where you just implement something very fast, but you already realize the benefits very quickly, and not spend three. So I've heard cases where some voice AI projects took 3 years to work because of like just huge upfront costs, right?
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if those will ever be profitable. Um, so I think in the end it's like a trade-off between how much effort you want to put in and how much automation do you want to have.
No, I agree with you completely. It's such an undertaking to integrate with everything. I think some companies, the most advanced, the most bullish on AI, or maybe the AI native built from the ground up, where the AI has already access from day one to everything, it's all integrated, that might exist. And then those AI support agents, voice chat could probably be able to do everything, in my opinion. But that's going to be a minority because, just like you said, for most companies, it's going to be just too challenging. Okay,
Exactly.
now 2030 still, we're talking to AI sometimes back to human. But so, will AI eventually be better than humans in empathy on those calls?
Um, I would say partially. I would say it will be better than 80% of the lower performers that don't really care, are there for a paycheck, that are scrolling their phone while it's like on the call. It will probably not be better than like the top 20 performers that are really, really attentive. And I mean, the question that that deduces to is AI smarter than humans? Like, is it better at detecting emotions?
Yeah.
And if you believe that AI is somehow smarter than humans, then the answer is yes. If not, I would say like the top 20 performers will still be better than AI.
And what's interesting is, like you said, you can get rid of some of your workforce. So hopefully you're able to
Yeah.
sort through and get rid of the bottom. That's also a problem with call centers is you always have some amazing people, doing their job wonderfully well, but also you always have some slackers. And the day you're on the phone and you're stuck with that person, that's your unlucky day. So hopefully
I mean,
those
it's. I think
people.
I compare it to software engineering and coding. I mean, most YC startups and us were trying to optimize now for hiring like senior developers with like 3 years of experience, because the easy stuff can either be done with like Cursor or
Yes.
Windsurf, or be done like we don't use it, but like be done with something like Devon, right? And so this would not have been possible like 5 years ago, where you need also junior engineers to do like the low level coding, the plumbing.
Yeah, that's true. That's very, very true. That's a good parallel. What's something contrarian or a bold prediction for the future of customer service again in maybe
Yeah.
5 or 10 years? Something, yeah, prediction or contrarian thought.
Okay, so those are two contrasting statements that I'm about to make, but I think in 2030, the winners or the call center space will actually look like the space today, but with different kinds of providers. So there will it's I don't think it's a winner take all market, because no AI tool will in this space capture like 100% of all enterprise contracts. At the same time, I would say that while it's not a winner take all market, the ones that do well will be a certain type of provider. So right now, if we think about the space and the stack, there are call center softwares. These are software solutions that like companies use for human call center agents to make and receive calls. And then there are voice AI solutions sitting on top of these solutions, where like the call comes in here to the call center software and it gets routed to the voice AI agent. And if the voice AI agent is not able to resolve it, it will route back. And so this is not optimal for several reasons. First of all, every call transfer, right, it costs money and also takes time. There's integration effort, right? You have to send data back and forth, like what was said during the AI call that like the human AI agent has to know. So I think the future will be where those two layers collapse, and it's going to be an interesting question if companies like Genesis, Five9, and stuff like that will be able to build compelling voice AI agent solutions. Hypothesis no. Or whether voice AI agent companies like us, and you're talking about in 5 years, right, get big enough for us to be able to build some of the call center modules as well, right? Where as a vision, you have one solution where calls comes in, AI like does most of the calls, but then humans work on the same platform to take over from AI seamlessly once AI needs to take over. And why is that better for like business customers? Because they have one solution that they have to deal with, right? Not like two solutions where they need to spend time integrating it. But customers probably just want one solution where just everything works out of the box. And so, yeah, in the long term, we want to be that solution.
Hopefully you will. Let's
Let's see.
thank you for that. But that's fascinating again to get your perspective as an insider from the industry. All right, that's it for the bold predictions. Just to end here, if some companies are listening and obviously wanna try it out, you'll tell us your website. But what would be the first step if we take a more general view? What would be the first step for a company that just wants to try AI in customer service? How do you prepare for that?
Yes, I would say reach out to me. So I'm reachable at founders@leapingai.com, and let's get on a call and yeah, let's do a first demo with your use case already implemented.
All right, perfect. Any advice for customer, support leaders who are overwhelmed by AI hype, but they're not sure how to get started?
I would say give different solutions a try and see which one you like the best.
Okay, you're willing to go against competitors and to prove that you're actually the best. That's really, really cool. All right. Anything we haven't talked about? Anything you wanted to chat on this show before we wrap up that I
Not
forgot?
really. It was really fun.
That was awesome. Well, thank you so much, Kevin, for coming on the show. I had a blast. Thanks for sharing all of your knowledgeable answers. And to our listeners, if you're still here, don't forget to give us a 5-star review on your favorite podcast platform. Subscribe if you're on YouTube. Hit the notification bell. I'll see you on the next episode. Bye, everyone.